With the sanctuary surrounded and time running out for the saviors, this week's episode puts its focus squarely on Eugene and the concept of risk. Those who weigh it, those who embrace it, and those who avoid it at all costs. It's The Walking Dead, Season 8, Episode 7. Time for After. Hey everyone, D here, and welcome to this week's review of The Walking Dead. So yes, of course, spoilers, they are part of what we do. Alright, so like I said, really looking at the concept of risk in this episode. And Eugene, of course, the perfect person to focus on with the idea of risk, considering that his entire genetic makeup is formulated around self-preservation, around minimizing any risk to himself. Though also because it's sort of a Eugene-centric episode, it does make me think, per the rules of Walking Dead, that he may not be long for this world. But he gets to deal with kind of risk from a couple of different standpoints in his little world right here. I mean, one, he's got the little conversation with Father Gabriel we get later on about risking for someone else. You know, I want you to do the right thing, Father Gabriel's trying to tell him. And Eugene's trying to tell him, look at me, I'm a small man. I don't do anything outside that isn't centered around my own self-preservation. You know, so that's sort of an interesting concept. And you can see from his point of view, not being a very faithful man, the universe is going to work things out, that God is going to look out for him and hope, you know, and guide him in the right direction. He's just seeing as like, yeah, I've seen people do that and they all get killed. Not really my kind of thing. But the other real concept, of course, the bigger one, and the one that sort of starts off his whole story, is looking at which side is going to be safer. If you're looking for self-preservation, which is the right thing to do? And yes, going up and confronting Dwight and calling him, I know you are the fifth columnist working for Alexandria, Hilltop, and Kingdom. He's got to have his nomenclature. That's one thing for Eugene. But here the idea that Dwight's trying to tell him is like, look, things are going down. This is all ending. If you want to be safe, you want to be self-preserved, then you don't have to do anything. Just stand by and let it all happen. Now, of course, Dwight, or Eugene, he feels safe for the saviors. Negan, he's big, he's tough, he takes out walkers, he gets to play video games, he gets food, he's surrounded by people. Why would he want to risk to do that? But of course, Dwight also reminds him, you haven't had to cross any lines yet. You haven't had to kill for Negan. You haven't heard all the smells, but you've heard the sounds. You know what staying here is going to do. I'm trying to save you from that. And that's reinforced when Tanya comes and visits him, you know, for the exchange of wine for the boom box. Because Tanya had asked him to get that poison pill to try and kill Negan to take all of this out. And when Eugene tells her, yeah, I'm sorry, I need the wine because I need it to sleep at night. It's the only way that I can go to sleep. That's precisely what she tried to save him from. I tried to get you to do this and this would have all been over. What you end up doing, you didn't. You focused on yourself, and now we all still have to deal with it. That's why she's drinking wine and partying with boom boxes in the midst of the Walker apocalypse, because she feels already trapped. Also interesting with that whole with the whole poison pill thing is it sort of reminds where we deal up with Sasha. Because, of course, he gave that pill to Sasha so she would be able to go out, and she used that in order to be a Walker bomb to go and take out Negan. Not successfully, but still, she was willing to take that risk in order to do that. And I love that trip down into the basement, too, when he comes across her casket. Now, I thought he was going down to look for speaker components and stuff. Also, I think he was seeing his reflection inside that speaker and maybe not liking what he was seeing. But I didn't know if he was going down specifically for the iPod. Thought he was just going down for speaker stuff and then maybe reminded of. But he did look inside there, so I'm not entirely sure. I think he gave her the iPod to listen to while she was in there, so he probably did remember that would be useful. But we also get that other concept of risk when Dwight encounters him on top of when he's about to launch off the drone. And there to me was sort of an interesting thought, because you would think that someone as self-preservation oriented as Eugene would back off when there's a gun pointed to his head. But I think this was him with his smart sort of weighing risks. Because Eugene's point is not to kill people. He's trying to save people. You know, he's bought into the whole saviors things. We save people. And that's really what he's trying to do, is to lure the walkers away to save the workers and everybody inside. That is a noble goal. And I think that's why Dwight couldn't shoot him. I mean, Dwight's not just a cold-blooded murderer. But I think it's also the idea is he couldn't fault Eugene for his goals, for what he was trying to do here. So we just shot down the drone, which was great. And of course signaled the whole Daryl thing and such. But once that happens, and the walkers come in, and he sees that, he's horrified and angered. We don't really see Eugene angry at the death and destruction and everything that is caused, that is wrought because he wasn't able to stop it, because the other side was able to crash in, and his ultimate fear of the walkers coming in occurred. It got him so mad, it got to that last scene with Father Gabriel. And I'm putting that as this week's Scene of the Week. Because it is such a summation of all of the moves for Eugene throughout this episode. All of the support from Negan, and all of the blistering from Dwight, and all of the weighing of considerations and risks, as it really gets down to that final moment with that anger, and he throws it right into Gabriel's face, which is of course hilarious, being that Gabriel is basically almost comatose in bed, nearing death himself, that this is the one that he is going to unload on because he feels safest to do it, least risky. But we see, I think, Dwight in his purest form. I think without any of the extra talk, without any of the fanciness, without any of the lies, without any of the disguise, I think here we got to see Dwight's true self. How everything that he does is about self-preservation. I mean, his even constant referrals to everybody throughout the episode, the Alexandrian stuff, as just former traveling companions. That, I think, is how he views the world. And even the Sanctuary and Negan and everyone else, is they are currently just a means to an end. That ends being his own preservation, his own sense of life. It is the one thing, as he says, he is genetically oriented for. His entire sense of being is oriented towards self-preservation. So if he has to lie to Abraham about being a big CDC, we've got the cure for the Walker virus, or it's got to be talking about getting bullets, or it's got to be talking about solutions to anything, whatever it has to be, whether it being loyal to Rick or being kidnapped by Negan and suddenly being Negan, wherever he has to go, whatever he has to do, whoever he has to be to ensure his own survival, is the path that Eugene is always going to take. And if anything was clarified by this episode, it is that. Which also means, I believe, that Eugene's days are definitely numbered. Now, Daryl and company, gotta do what Daryl says, this week, kind of dealing with different concepts of risk. And really, it is a Daryl Tara versus Rosita and Michonne. And I have to say, Rosita did kind of surprise me with her little path in this episode, considering all that she has done. But it's also a sign that she is evolving, that she is actually learning from her mistakes and trying to gain a bit of wisdom. But if we're looking at these two concepts, the idea here is about time. It's about waiting. Daryl and Tara, on the one side, their idea of risk is waiting too long. The more you wait, the more chances that something has to go wrong. Therefore, tie it up quickly, get it done while you have the advantage, which is why they're all about crashing the truck into the sanctuary and letting the walkers pour in and sort of finish them off. Hopefully the idea there is that the workers are far enough away from the front of the building that they will have time to get up and get away, and the and that the fighters will get taken out by the walkers. Sort of a risk since they don't know all of what's going on inside. But this is where they're coming from. And I do appreciate the fact that even when Daryl has that long conversation with Michonne and she sort of weighs her idea and her point of it, why she can't go along with it, he's very understanding. He's not judging, which is that friendship and support. These are people of different opinions. Not enemies, just people, allies with different opinions. For Dwight, for Daryl, I'm sorry, I shouldn't call him Dwight. For Daryl, for Tara, this is about not letting time happen for something to go wrong, hitting while the iron's hot. Now for Rosita, who has rushed things, remember her whole rush to kill Negan and to get that one bullet, which she totally messed up, and that got Eugene captured and created all sorts of other drama. She has learned the concept of you have to wait. And even seeing as it took until seeing Sasha, who went in, took her time, did the whole thing, waited, killed herself inside a coffin to have that one shot to kill Negan, which almost worked. Sure, it didn't, but that concept, and I think even that was sort of off of the idea of rushing to kill Negan. So, I mean, she's kind of looking at it from two different ways in that sense. But the fact that she has learned that, hey, rushing things isn't always that good. Sometimes by rushing, by pushing stuff, and supposedly can naturally happen, waiting for your moment, that's how mistakes are made. And Michonne is almost of the same idea, but for her looking at it is, she had that itch, she had that red light going off. I've got to look, I've got to know, I've got to find out. And then she's there and she's seeing it, and she's seeing the plan working. For her, the risk is, why would you mess up something that's working? I can't tell, and it's good. She does sort of throw back that statement that Rosita said to her about you not knowing how things are going to work out. You can't know that. You can make guesses. You can sort of figure things out, but you can't know. You can't know how things are going to work out. You can't know that future. What you can know is right now. And for her, that right now is the plan is going on just fine. They're surrounded. They don't seem to have much ammo. They're going to run out of food and water. They're going to sweat them out, and then we'll have everybody come up in force and go, boom, let's get it done. So those are good, two little concepts to weigh. Of course, Morgan, for his own sense, there's no risk at all. He's out. He's already decided to take out all of the saviors. So anything that's going to hasten that move and guarantee that action versus with waiting, and maybe you're going to have people surrender, and then you're going to have prisoners, and then you'll have the whole thing that happened with Jesus. You can see why he is right on top of it. Now, the interesting point of weighing all these different concepts of risk, these different ideas, is really the moment where Eugene sends out the drone. Because here we're seeing of that risk of waiting and letting the plan go versus pushing it and not allowing something to go wrong really comes to a head. And yes, the drone ultimately doesn't work. Dwight shoots it down. But it's still, that's still evidence of Eugene looking for all of these different solutions. Yes, this is one idea, but maybe there's going to be another or another concept that is. So yes, the saviors are actively working to try and reverse the whole, Walker envelopment around them. So that sort of makes sense of why you would support Daryl and Tara's idea of, great, so let's send in the truck down, knock down the wall, and just get the walkers in, because sooner or later, they're not going to wait. They're going to be able to break out of this. Here's a perfect example of that. Now, on the other hand, of course, the drone doesn't work, and it doesn't pull anyone away. And now what you've done is, yes, you've opened up a hole, you've let all of the walkers in, but now you can't see them. You don't know the effect it is that they're going to have. Have you now just got the workers all upset and now they're going to join up with the fighters against the Alexandria against Alexandria Hilltop and Kingdom? Have you just done that? Have you wiped them out? Have you knocked down their numbers? Or I think what's actually really worse is now you've actually just, again, removed them from view. You've now put all of the walkers inside, and now you don't know what is going to happen. So which is better? And I think the fact that you're not really entirely sure, that this leaves it up in the air, I think is a good idea. That we're not drawing any complete solutions here. We're not saying this would have been right and this would have been wrong. You're weighing choices, and you can see where the risk of waiting can come in, that they're going to find something out. On the other hand, maybe you have just made the one mistake that is going to undermine all of our plans. And this gets to, in fact, Eugene's plan that he throws out towards Negan. We don't hear any of the specifics about it, except that it's going to take a lot of bullets, even with shot discipline and minding your P's and Q's. And that is the idea, is I think what we saw when the walkers first came in and we saw Eugene getting all mad. We had all of the walkers heading up the stairs, and they were bottlenecking right up into that small stairway. It allows a very small area to shoot. Now at the end we found out that they managed to get all upstairs. The workers and fighters managed to get upstairs. The walkers had the downstairs, but that means all of the stairwells are empty. So now you just start coaxing walkers up the steps or by the steps, and by preserving as much ammo as possible and being sure you take careful shots and minimizing your misses, you use all the rest of your ammo to thin out the numbers, to basically mow them all down. Now, the reason this is a big danger is because it's all inside and the snipers outside can't see. See, if before you had the saviors coming to the windows to try and take out the walkers, the snipers would see them through the windows and be able to shoot them, and then you would have, dead fighters. Wouldn't be able to shoot the walkers. But now this is all internal. Now the snipers have no job. There's nothing they can see. It's all inside. So unless they're going to risk going inside themselves, they have now lost all of their sight lines. So we have Eugene, post-plan, drinking up his wine because of all of the gunfire that he's hearing that's going to be for the long, long time until all of those walkers are taken out. And this is, of course, the results that Tanya was warning him. I hope this works for you. And you can see it's not really. He's drinking so much he's not used to it, throwing it up. And what's a good alky going to do then? Start drinking some more. Yeah, Eugene is going to have a very bad morning after this. And Rick. Okay. Rick is kind of the other concept, the opposite of Eugene in the concept of risk. Where Eugene will not risk himself for anything, Rick will risk himself for just about anything. Certainly for the ideas of preservation of self and of the group, of other people. And in some ways he's taking this on, I think the whole heapsters, dumpsters, Jadis group thing, whatever you want to call them, whisperers. I think what was going on here, I think that was such a risk to try and pull Jadis over, to try and get them to turn, to try and use their numbers, which, while may not have been necessary before, with the Kingdom fighters all gone now, those numbers would be helpful. I think Rick didn't want to risk anyone else for his idea. So I think there's the other concept of he has an idea, he has a plan, but he will take all the risk onto himself and not risk anybody else to try and get this accomplished. Now, he survived the Whisperers before, so we probably had a pretty good indication that he would again. Though I have to wonder, after all that time naked post-fighting in a hot container ship, man, he's got to smell great, don't you think? At least they let him keep his underwear, his boxers on. And maybe that was just, for the TV 14 rating for AMC. But as for that, and I love the picture idea was also kind of a funny moment, considering that Rick was taking photos and Polaroids of the destruction of the Saviors to report to everybody else and to show to them. The fact they're pulling him out to take pictures to sculpt for later, afterwards, I thought was kind of funny. But it really boiled down here, of course, to Rick finding his moment to fight them off and turn the tables and be the Rick Awesome Badass fighter. I liked the fight sequence. I thought it was cool. It certainly weighed a lot on there not being many of the Whisperers around him, so he would be able to fight off the couple that were just there. But of course, they probably underestimated him. I liked the fight. I liked him grabbing and using the one end of the pole to fight and sweep and beat people off while still having the walker on the other end. That was cool. And then pulling the head off and then threatening Jadis on the ground with that snapping head right in her face. Just, it was terrifying. It was beautiful. It was perfect. I love that, especially his line then is like, okay, now I'm leaving. And you're all probably going to die, so you should all probably run. But yes, I know there's tons of you, but I'm leading. Rick, definitely filled with confidence. That's one thing him and Negan share. But of course, now that she's been beaten, now Jadis is willing to negotiate and deal, always pushing a little bit further, wanting all of the Savior's stuff, and then half of it, and then, well, I'll take a quarter, but then I gotta sculpt you knocketed, because that's how I do art here. You figure she always pushes. Appreciate Rick just cleanly shutting her down. No, you get a fourth, we'll deal it, that's it, get me my clothes. Now the downside, of course, of all of this is that he's convinced Jadis of their superiority, that they've got the Saviors all beaten down, that they've got Negan taken care of, and decides to take her down to show her, because then we're all going to go up and ask for their surrender, and then I kill Negan, just me. He's too focused on that. Too focused. And of course, the sanctuary is empty. Or the outside is empty. We don't know anything else on the inside. But this is, I think, that post-plan. I'm not sure how much further into the future that is from everything else. I think we do get at least maybe a half a day time jump. Not sure how long that it took for them to clear out. So the way that we play with time here, let's just assume that this is post everything done, and maybe the Saviors at this point are heading out, or have just finished off the walkers and are getting ready to move on. Alright, so a few small bits. One, let us start with Negan, who had a couple of strong scenes there. Love his confidence, as always. Always talking about people are going to die. Not me, of course. I'm not going to die. I'm too good at this. But other people are going to die. But his treatment of Eugene, I thought, was just hilarious. In the sense that Eugene there is kind of like a little puppy dog. If you just treat him right and rub his belly and feed him and keep him safe, he will dance and perform and do all the tricks all day long. It was just, that's exactly it. Oh, perfect point is when Negan goes and offers his hand for the handshake. Eugene thinks, I've got to kiss it like, because it's the, no, handshake. No, you don't see it that much. It means I'll show you respect. But I thought it was just funny. Well, especially that kind of offering down handshake. It was a perfect miscommunication for Eugene. But that just also shows his sort of meek point of view. He's not the one in charge. He is at best second. Arrogant, sure, when he feels he needs to be to support his position. But otherwise, certainly willing to roll over and show his belly at a moment. And of course, we've got that scene with Dwight and Eugene at the end, where we had Eugene, after he told his plan, getting ready to reveal who the fifth columnist is, who the traitor is. But of course doesn't do so because right at that moment, Dwight comes in the room. And this again is Eugene's weighing of risks. With Dwight not in the room, he was all about telling Negan who the traitor was. With Dwight in the room right next to him, not so much. Because I'm figuring that he's thinking that Dwight would be able to kill him before he gets killed by everybody else. Yes, that would be the end of Dwight, but he probably figured out that Dwight would be able to take him out before he got a chance. And considering that self-preservation is all about Eugene, then he is more than willing to just go ahead and let that slide for a moment until maybe he's got another quiet bit where he can go ahead and release that information. But not get in trouble for it. Because if he withheld information and Negan thinks he withheld it, that's not going to be good too. So in some ways, the longer he waits, the riskier it is also. All right, well, I think that pretty much covers everything. So next week is the big mid-season finale. 90 minutes, we get an extended episode. And now we're going to have Negan and the Saviors going back after Alexandria Hilltop and the Kingdom. As he said, the shitstorm that he is going to throw at them after the shitstorm they threw at him. But how much ammo do they have? Probably not much after taking care of all those walkers. Making ammo is going to take time. So, do they have more backup? Do they need another cache? Are they going to head back where all those weapons were, where the Brownings and the 50s were and the Kingdom fighters were taken out? Because they didn't seem to touch any of those other stacks of boxes that were there. So, little concerned about that. But we're basically looking at the Saviors are going to be undersupplied, but raring for some revenge. Meanwhile, you're going to have Alexandria holding tight, ready for an assault on them, and Rick, hopefully still with Jadis and the Heapsters in tow, fighting back. But of course, now that the Sanctuary isn't looking the way that Rick said, they may turn around and just take out of there, because you know how dependable they are. So, lots of stuff to look forward to next week. Cannot wait to see it. So, thank you so much for joining me on this review. If you enjoyed it yourself, please go ahead and hit that like button. Thoughts, ideas, comments, throw those down in the section below. What do you guys think about this episode? About Eugene's weighing of risk back and forth? Did you think the garbage truck plan was good? Do you think that it was necessary because Eugene was going to come up with something? Or do you think that did just open the door for Negan to be able to escape? Was it the wrong move? Let me know your thoughts. Throw those down in the section below. Now you can always catch me on Twitter and Instagram. I'm at Darren Jakes. And if you're not a subscriber, please subscribe. It's quick, it's easy. You just got to press one button. You'll catch all these reviews. Plus we got Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. just kicked back up. We got Legion next year, American Gods, Westworld I hope is coming up, and the final season of Game of Thrones. So lots of things. Don't miss any of that if you're a subscriber. Do that by clicking my face right here. And I'll go ahead and throw up our latest couple reviews right here, and you can check those out. All right, so that's going to be it for me. I'm D, and I'm out of here. Catch you guys next time. Bye-bye.